everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's webinar during this difficult time. I want to begin by saying that Sharsheret stands with Israel, and we mourn with the families and friends of those killed, pray for those injured and kidnapped, and hope for lasting peace. As our hearts are focused on Israel, Sharsheret continues to provide vital cancer support and education to thousands who depend on us. We're glad you're here tonight for Sharsheret in the Kitchen, Fall Favorites with Kim Kushner. I'm Jessica Jablon, California Regional Director at Sharsheret. For those of you who don't know about Sharsheret, we help women and families facing breast and ovarian cancer, as well as those who are at elevated genetic risk through free, confidential, and personalized support and resources. And we also provide health education throughout the country. One of our goals is to make sure that we are offering healthy living and cancer prevention information to you and giving you what support you need. So in addition to our virtual services that can be found on our website or by emailing us, you can also access prior webinars on a range of cancer-related topics, as well as access our calendar of upcoming virtual programs through our website. Now, before we begin, a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded, and participants' faces and names will not be in the recording as long as you remain muted. It will be posted on Sharsheret's website along with a transcript in the next couple of weeks. If you would like to remain private, you can turn off your video and rename yourself, or you can call into the webinar, and instructions are in the chat now for both options. You may have noticed all participants were muted upon entry. Please keep yourself unmuted throughout the call. If you have questions for Kim, put them in the chat box either publicly, or you can click on Sharsheret in the chat box to submit a private question, and I will ask them throughout the program. We will send out a follow-up email with tips and recommendations from today's webinar with the recording. We're very excited to continue our Sharsheret in the Kitchen series, an initiative in partnership with Cedars-Sinai here in Los Angeles to empower those of us at risk for breast and ovarian cancer to make healthier diet choices. We've had some really wonderful guests for this healthier cooking series, and we invite you to check out our prior Sharsheret in the Kitchen webinars on our website at the link in the chat. You should have received the recipes for today's program in advance. My colleague is putting the link in the chat so you can download and print it or see it on your screen. We want to thank our incredible Sharsheret in the Kitchen webinar sponsors, Cedars-Sinai and the Cooperative Agreement DP19-1906 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It is because of their generous support that we've been able to continue to provide this series of incredible webinars. And as you may know, this webinar is part of this year's Sharsheret Summit, and we want to thank all of our Sharsheret Summit sponsors: Daiichi Sankyo, GSK, Merck, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Seagen, Lilly, Natera, Eisai, GE Healthcare, Northwell Health Cancer Institute. Additionally, we want to thank our Summit national partners, 18 Doors, the Alpha Epsilon Phi Sorority, Vassar Center for BRCA, Cancer Support Communities and Gilda's Club, the Cooperative Agreement DP19-1906 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Clean Speech NYC, JCC Association of North America, the Jewish Orthodox Feminist Alliance, the Jewish Orthodox Women's Medical Association, J-Screen, the Network of Jewish Human Service Agencies, 1 in 40, One Table, Ritual Well, Stiva, Women of Reform Judaism, and Women to Women. There's more information in the chat box about our summit. I wanted to share that Sharsheret's 15th annual Pies for Prevention sale officially opens next Monday. Adina Sussman and Sharon Weeder, longtime supporters of Sharsheret, launched the Pies for Prevention National Thanksgiving Bake Sale in 2008 in memory of their mother and grandmother, whom they lost to ovarian cancer. In the past 15 years, Pies for Prevention has raised over $756,000 to support Sharsheret's ovarian cancer initiative. The week of Thanksgiving, we typically have about 35 bake sales happening all over the country with individuals or bakeries selling anything from pies to chocolate chip cookies to pumpkin loaves and more. I'm giving you a sneak peek because more information will be coming out next week when the sale officially starts. But if you are interested in finding out more about purchasing baked goods and supporting Sharsheret's 15th annual Pies for Prevention Thanksgiving Bake Sale, visit the link in the chat to see if there's a bake sale happening in your area, and know that there are still some bake sales being added. Additionally, this year Sharsheret will donate 10% of the net proceeds from baked goods sold to the following Israeli organizations serving families affected by cancer and by war-related trauma: the Israel Lemonade Fund, which provides emergency financial aid for non-medical expenses for women with breast cancer, and Haverut, which conducts mental health support groups for women, including those who are at risk and living with cancer. Now I'd like to introduce Bailey, who's going to share her personal story with us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bailey Kramer. Thank you guys for having me here today to share some of my own personal story with all of you. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer, invasive ductal carcinoma, on March 30th of 2022. And I was 28 years old when I was diagnosed. So a lot of people will ask kind of how I found my lump, since at my age, there isn't any sort of breast screening. So I was actually vacuuming and my left arm kind of grazed my left breast and I had like a shooting pain. And when I had that, I like felt my breast and I found a lump. So being that I was only 28, I mean, my first thought was definitely not breast cancer. I thought I just had a cyst or something going on. So I kind of just brushed it off. And as time went on, come November, I did finally mention it to my doctor, and I had just started my cycle. So we both just kind of assumed it was a cyst. And she told me, you know, if it doesn't get better, doesn't go away, let me know about it. So then we fast forward about 6 months later. So now it would have been March of 2022. I had noticed that the lump was much worse and hardening on the side and some other symptoms. So I did let her know. And then from that point is when the ball kind of started rolling for me. And I started getting ultrasounds and scans and all of everything. So at that point I was diagnosed, and upon my diagnosis was when I actually found out that I am positive for the BRCA2 gene and the PALB2 gene mutations. So I didn't know that previously. And, you know, unless your direct parent or sibling has those genes, they won't cover the testing. So I just never had it done, even knowing that breast cancer did run on my paternal side of the family. Well, after we had found out about the mutations, that is when I met my breast surgeon. And the first thing I had was a double mastectomy. So my double mastectomy was about 6 weeks after my diagnosis. And during that, they had removed 5 of my sentinel lymph nodes. After that, I was confirmed that cancer had spread to 3 of the 5 lymph nodes that they had removed. With that being said, I knew at that point, I just knew I was going to have to go through chemotherapy and radiation, which I did. I went through 16 rounds of chemotherapy, and I had 28 rounds of radiation. And I actually received proton therapy, which to some people is like a newer type of radiation that I'm actually lucky to have gotten, because there's a proton therapy center within like 45 minutes of where I live. I will say during my whole journey, the hardest part emotionally for me was the thought of losing my hair. I really struggled with it, and I tried not to because it felt vain, but I just had a lot of trouble accepting that I wasn't going to look like me or feel like me. I also have a son, and during all this, he was 3, he's 4 now. But I didn't want him to know anything was going on. And he knows his mom with long hair. So I was worried if I came home with no hair, he'd kind of be like, Mom, like, what's going on? So with that, I started to do some research, and I found out about DigniCap, which is an FDA approved scalp cooling system. The success varies depending on your chemo regimen and of course a bunch of other factors. But I knew that with my specific regimen, because of my age and my gene mutations, I knew that my regimen was going to be, pretty harsh. And with that, I knew I'd have some balding, possibly with the DigniCap and etc. But I still wanted to try it to keep my hair. Thankfully, I had great success with DigniCap, and I didn't have any balding. My hair thinned out a little bit, but I kept more than 80% of my hair. So if anyone saw me and didn't know who I was, they would have no idea that I was going through chemotherapy. But this brings me to Sharsheret. I could not have done it without Sharsheret. And it literally brings tears to my eyes thinking about it. And I'll never forget the day that I connected with them. So I found out about Sharsheret through Here to Stay. And I remember I was super frantic that day because I was about to start chemo in like 6 days. And I needed to order my cold cap and treatment card so that way I would have everything in time for chemo. And I felt super lost with just so many things on my mind and financials and just everything else that, you know, I knew I needed to kind of get this stuff in order. So the cold caps are kind of costly and I did need, you know, some sort of financial help. And every single person that I've gotten to know at Sharsheret has helped me to the next stage. So when I reached out, I told them that I was, you know, getting started super soon, and she knew I was nervous, and she immediately made me feel better. She assured me that, you know, we'll get it done ASAP. And the girls teamed up together, I know through the application department and one of the support coordinators. They had received and approved and got my subsidy approved all within the same day. And when I opened the email and I read that I was approved, you could just like hear their voices on the other side of an email, just about how excited they were and how excited I was all together, that I just wanted to celebrate. It was like a breath of fresh air, and just tears were streaming. And it felt so good to know that like I had this support, and I couldn't have done it without them. And it helped me through my journey feel more like myself, being able to keep my hair and not have to worry about those, you know, financial parts of it as well. But that doesn't even end there with Sharsheret. I mean, through my journey, it could be a month later, 2 months later, and I'm still getting emails and connecting with, you know, the coordinators, and they're asking how I'm doing and checking in on me. And it's like you make this relationship and this friendship and bond. And I truly can't begin to tell you how much it means to me, and how great it makes me feel that like I feel like it's family to me, that I've made these connections at Sharsheret. And I am super happy now because I'm also part of their peer support network too. So hopefully I'll be able to give back and help somebody else that's, you know, in this situation that needs someone to stand by them. Because the cancer diagnosis is always scary, it's overwhelming. And I've learned that one day at a time is just the best way to get through it. So don't worry about what's going on tomorrow, and just really try to focus on your today. I've been an open book through my journey, and you know, I hope that it helps other women along their journeys. And I also have an Instagram page. It's at Bailey's Breast Cancer Journey, where I have had a lot of women reach out about cold capping and chemo and things like that I've been able to kind of stand by their side. So I'll always say, and I always say it to all the other girls, just, you know, if you're in this situation, you know, you just take a deep breath and just keep going, because tomorrow's going to be a better day. We're all so much stronger than we think that we are, and it really takes a village. And I'm really happy that I have met some amazing women, and I've also, you know, feel like I've become part of the, you know, Sharsheret village as well. And, you know, it's a good feeling to have that community all together and fighting this together. So thank you again for having me here today to speak with all of you. And I hope you guys have a great night.
Thank you so much, Bailey. I mean, what you shared is so important and powerful. And thank you for being there for so many others through your journey. We put Bailey's Instagram handle in the chat if you want to follow her. If you're interested in finding out more about genetic counseling, we have a genetic counselor on staff here at Sharsheret, as well as if you're interested in finding out more about our financial assistance programs like for scalp cooling or areola and eyebrow tattooing or real hair wigs, please contact us at clinicalstaff@sharsheret.org. But now I am so excited to introduce Sharsheret's national board member and culinary educator, Kim Kushner. Kim is the best-selling author of The Modern Table, I Heart Kosher, The New Kosher, and The Modern Menu. Raised in Montreal, Canada, Kim learned to cook at an early age from her Moroccan-born mother and spent summers with family in Israel. In 2005, she launched Kim Kushner Cuisine and now travels the world teaching her wildly popular cooking classes. Kim's cooking style reflects her busy life as a wife, mother of 4, teacher, and author, and she's become well known in New York City and abroad for her healthy and hearty dishes made from locally grown produce. Kim's Sharsheret's story began years before she knew how connected she actually was. Teaching cooking classes for Sharsheret gave Kim wonderful opportunities to bring a community together, committed to providing support to those touched by breast cancer and ovarian cancer. And when Kim learned that she carried a BRCA mutation, her personal Sharsheret story deepened, and she became an advocate for Sharsheret and for protecting your health. And not only is Kim here tonight as part of our Sharsheret Summit, but on November 9th at 6:30 p.m., she's hosting our New York City Gala, an evening of wonder featuring the extreme magic of Eric Wilzig. And if you're in the New York City area, we hope you'll join us. And more information can be found at the link in the chat. And stay on to fill out our evaluation at the end of the webinar. And you could receive one of 3 copies of Kim's cookbook, The Modern Table, in a giveaway. And thank you, Kim, for generously donating those cookbooks. Welcome to Sharsheret in the Kitchen. We are so excited to have you here to share some of your delicious fall favorite dishes with us. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And Bailey, thank you for sharing your story. You're inspiring. And it's really an incredible journey that you've been through. And we all can learn so much from you. And so thankful that Sharsheret is part of all of our lives. We're very, very lucky. It's really an incredible organization. And if anybody is in New York next month, please come to the New York City event on November 9th. It's going to be wonderful. But I know that everyone wants to get moving with the recipes, and that's what we've come here to do. So really, I'm going to be demoing very simple fall favorites. These are my go-tos, and it's going to be quick and easy, and let's get started. So the first recipe we are going to start with is what I call dinner in 15 minutes. It's basically an herb crumbs fish recipe that you could make using any kind of fish that you like. Tonight, I'm going to be using some beautiful sea bass fillets that I have right here. And I kept the skin on, but you could make this dish literally using salmon, sole, halibut, any fish that you like. This recipe actually even works on chicken as well. So it's super, super simple. All you are going to need is a small food processor like this, and any herbs that you have on hand. And what I love about this recipe is oftentimes I like to buy a lot of fresh herbs, but oftentimes I'll forget about them, or they're coming to the end of their life in the fridge. And this is a great recipe to make with them. It's a crumb topping using any variety of herbs. Juice from a lemon, salt, pepper, olive oil, and then you can mix in the crumbs of your choice. You can use breadcrumbs, you can use panko, cornflake crumbs. If you don't want to use a bread-based crumb, you can use nuts, chopped up nuts of your choice, pine nuts. You can use seeds like sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, any really ingredient that will give it a little bit of bite and crunch. And what's great about this herb topping is oftentimes I'll make a big batch, put it in a Ziploc bag and store it in the freezer. And it really then becomes so easy. All you need to do is pick up some fresh fish, top the fish, pop it in the oven, and then in 13, 14 minutes, dinner is ready. So I'm going to begin. I had some cilantro, I had some fresh mint, I had some dill that was already chopped up, and some parsley, and I am going to put them in this food processor. Move this bottle over so you can see. I'm going to take the juice from half of a lemon and squeeze it in. If you wanted to add in garlic or onion, you certainly could, but I'm keeping this simple. I love that when I cook fish, I like to buy really fresh, delicious fish, and I try not to cover up the flavor or mask it with too many ingredients. I think if the fish is fresh, you really do not need to do too much to it. So I have the juice of half a lemon, the variety of fresh herbs. I'm gonna add some extra virgin olive oil, a good pinch of kosher salt, a good pinch, or a couple of turns of ground black pepper. And I'm gonna add in a squirt of yellow mustard. You can use Dijon, you can use grainy. I just like it for the color and the burst of zestiness. And I'm gonna process this. Just a couple of pulses. And then I'm going to add my crumbs. So for tonight, I'm using cornflake crumbs. And all of the, you guys have the recipe, so you'll have the exact measurements, but really it's a no measurement recipe. It's one of those things that you can use what you have on hand, and you'll add as much crumbs to make it the consistency as you want. So you start with about a tablespoon at a time until it comes to the desired crumminess that you like. So here I go. I'm gonna add a little bit more, and it should be just perfect. You don't want the crumbs to be wet. You want them to feel like just a burst of herby crumbs. And what I'm gonna do to the fish here is I'm gonna season it with salt and pepper. And then I'm going to top it with the crumbs topping. And you can do this on fillets that have the skin removed, fillets that have the skin on. You can use fish steak. You could do it in all different ways. I like to use these even sometimes on chicken breasts, just rub some of the crumbs on, pop it in the oven. It's very, very simple and straightforward.
Kim, there's a couple of questions that came in. One says that they love your lemon juicer and they feel like they see it all this time on Instagram and they need it. Who makes it?
I mean, I think this must be 20 years old. It says Zulay on it, Z-U-L-A-Y, but I feel like it was from Williams Sonoma a very, very long time ago. You can get them on Amazon. It's not a very special, particular one.
And then someone pointed out that we inadvertently left off the olive oil off of the recipe instructions. So
you just need a drizzle just so that it will stick together and adhere to the fish. So I would say start with 2 teaspoons and go from there.
Okay. And can you use other things besides olive oil, or is it just olive oil?
I mean, you can use different types of oil. I tend to prefer olive oil, but you certainly can use a grapeseed oil. You can use, I try to stay away from the vegetable oils, but you could use a little bit of toasted sesame oil would be delicious.
Maybe avocado oil?
Avocado oil would be great. You just want to top the fish like this. And then I place it into a very hot 425-degree preheated oven for about 12 or 13 minutes. And it is buttery. The crumbs sort of melt into the fish while they're cooking, and they find their way into the cracks and the crevices. And it's just simple, delicious with a green salad or some rice or a baked potato. Just simple and easy and great. And I love holding on to these crumbs, keeping them in the freezer, because it just makes it so much easier. One step is just done already.
It looks amazing, and so I love how simple it is to be able to just make it and pop it in the oven. Someone wants to know if the fish can be sauteed or if it has to go in the oven as indicated in the recipe.
So the problem with sauteing the fish is you might lose some of the topping when you're sauteing it. So if you just want to saute it on the bottom and let it cook from the bottom up, that's if you like to serve your fish more on the rare side, it will work, but the flipping might get a little tricky because when you flip it, I think a lot of the crumbs will fall off. Alternatively, you can sear your fish to your desired likeness and then put the crumbs on top. They don't need to be cooked.
That's a fun tip. And my colleague is taking notes as we are watching Kim, and we will send that out with the recording in the next couple of weeks as we get it on our website.
Okay, great. So we're going to move along. It's funny because I do a lot of cooking demos, and they're often very quick and swift, and the guests will say to me, "Oh my God, that was so fast, that was so easy." And I always say, that's the style. It just happens to be the style of my cooking. So as long as everyone is okay with quick, we're going to move along to the next recipe, which is cauliflower steaks roasted with za'atar, olive oil, and just beautifully roasted in the oven. And I love this recipe. Again, it's like a 3-ingredient recipe. Za'atar, as many of you probably know, is a Middle Eastern blend of spices using dried herbs and sesame seeds. And it has a very earthy, nutty taste to it. It's delicious, it's salty. It's like a great coating, and I happen to love it on cauliflower. So what I like to do is I trim the cauliflower, and then I slice it into thick, about 1-inch thick slices, such. And I have prepared a parchment-lined baking sheet. And very simply, I am going to just place these beautiful cauliflower steaks, which are really like a meal on their own once they're cooked. They're so hearty and delicious. So I'm going to place them on this baking sheet right here. And very, very simply, it's extra virgin, high quality extra virgin olive oil drizzled over the top. Again, you can use different types of oils. Avocado will certainly work. I like to use an extra virgin olive oil.
Actually, there was a question that came in about the olive oil. Somebody said that they see people decant their olive oil the way that you have it. Is there a reason for it other than aesthetics? In other words, does the oxygen help the flavor? So
this actually came in this bottle. This was a gift from someone. So I didn't decant it. I'm not going to say I never. I do keep on my counter decanted olive oil. The reason why I do it is not because it changes the taste or anything. I like this pourer. It pours very slowly and delicately so I can have more control, but that's the only reason I would decant. I don't think it does. Not to my knowledge, does it do anything to the taste or have any benefits. I think it would probably be more beneficial to buy olive oil in a glass bottle than a plastic bottle, but that's like anything else. So I'm going to add a good, nice sprinkling of kosher salt. The cauliflower could really take it. So I always say season it more generously than you might think it needs. Again, some freshly ground black pepper and the za'atar. Oh boy. Oh goodness. This is live Zoom, right? I'm going to find another one. Just one sec. Yeah.
We always love to
use. My hands are slippery from the.
Well, we always love to see that we're not the only ones, who have sometimes little things happen in the kitchen. This is part of cooking.
Right. You know what? I just moved into this apartment, into this kitchen 1 week ago. So everything is new and fresh and totally new to me. But I'm going to use, this is an herb blend. It's not za'atar, but just for the purpose of the cooking class. And I'm just going to sprinkle the za'atar over it, pop it into the oven, 375 for about 20 minutes. It gets caramelized, it gets golden, and it's delicious. I love to eat it as a side dish. I love to eat it with a scoop of sour cream, or I could even stuff it in a pita with some hummus. It's just delicious. And it's one of those things that lasts in the fridge a couple of days, although I don't think it will last that long because it's a real crowd pleaser. Everybody loves it. And I have a photo. Here's my book. I do have a photo of, oh, here. I have a photo of the finished product, which I will show you guys as well.
Ooh, that looks so good.
Yes, all of these recipes are in the Modern Table cookbook. So yes, it's great and always a crowd pleaser, delicious, easy, just super, super simple and easy. So that's always a bonus.
There were a couple of questions about the cauliflower.
Sure.
One was, could you do the same recipe with like the little florets?
I'm sorry, can you do the same recipe?
With the little, like smaller pieces of cauliflower?
Sure, yes. What cutting them into these steaks does is it allows it to really caramelize because the bottoms are flat. So they are directly closer to the heat. Whereas when they're florets, they steam rather than caramelize, but it will certainly work, yes.
And somebody said that they always have problems when they're slicing the cauliflower and it always falls apart. Do you have any tips on that?
So I think that one good tip is to keep the base of it in place when you're slicing and to really hold the head of the cauliflower and to go thicker, because the thicker you cut, the better slices you'll get.
That's great. That's like, I mean, your slices look so perfect. I know, I was kind of in awe. As somebody else is asking, how do you have to turn the cauliflower?
No, I use a convection oven, so the heat is pretty gradual, like it's all over. I've never had a problem. Sometimes I'll move the tray from top to bottom if it's not getting as crispy as I'd like it. And also, I oftentimes prepare this dish earlier in the day and then reheat it in the oven before serving, and it will get even crispier when I'm reheating it.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that was the second recipe. And the third and final recipe for the night is a recipe for chocolate chip cookies that I call my chewy, nutty, gooey, delicious chocolate chip cookies that really went viral during COVID. This was a recipe I made before Passover. Again, it's got just 3 or 4 ingredients, and you can make them in one bowl, super, super simple, and people love them. So we're gonna get to that. So unlike most cookie recipes that use flour, the base of this recipe, the dough, quote unquote, is really made out of finely chopped, actually coarsely chopped nuts. And again, you can use any nuts that you like. I like to use a blend of pecans and hazelnuts, or sometimes I'll use walnuts. And that is what makes up the base of the cookie dough. And then I add in these miniature chocolate chips, and they're stuck together with 1 egg and a little vanilla, and they are really, really delicious. So what I've done is in that same mini food processor, I've processed the pecans. I'm just going to show you so you can see. They're not super fine. There's still some pieces within them. You don't want them to be super, super fine. You want them to be coarsely chopped. And what I'm going to be using is 1/2 cup or 3/4 of a cup of sugar. You can use brown sugar. You can use coconut sugar. And I'm going to use 2 cups of the nuts. So here's 1 cup of the pecans. And here I have 1 cup of hazelnuts that have been chopped. And it makes this recipe super easy when you have these ingredients already ready to go in the freezer, which I often do. I chop them up, store them in the freezer, and then I whip this together in no time. So 2 cups of chopped nuts. We have about 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm going to add 1 egg. I'm going to add a little teaspoon of vanilla extract. And I am going to stir it together. And you want to get achieve a dough that sticks together, doesn't need to be sticky. Just once all of these ingredients are adhering together, you know you have the right consistency. If it is too dry, you can add a drop or two of water, literally like half a teaspoon at a time. But usually this is pretty spot on. So this is mixing up super nicely, and I'm going to add in some chocolate chips. And I like the miniature size because it's not the stickiest dough. I find that using a bigger size chocolate chip sometimes makes it difficult to form them into cookies. So the miniature size works really, really well.
Amazing.
And
somebody asked if you're allergic to egg, can you substitute flaxseed egg?
Absolutely. Applesauce will work as well.
Oh, and someone else said that they already made the cookies once they received the recipe and that they were so delicious and so easy. Thank you.
Thank you. That's so kind.
An endorsement before the demo's even done. Look at that.
Exactly. So here you have your batter. And then I just like to use a small ice cream scoop so that they're all consistent. And you want to place the mounds onto your parchment lined baking sheet and just press down lightly. And they won't grow. There's no baking soda. They sort of stay the same shape that you place them on the sheet in. I like to sprinkle a little touch of sea salt over the top. You could add cinnamon if you like. Really, it's one of those recipes that you can make your own. And they are always, always, always just a major hit. I'm gonna get the salt is here. This is kosher salt. It will work as well, just a little hint. And it's a great snack. I have some ready made. I always keep a jar of these. Just one of those recipes that's super easy to have on hand. And they are delicious. The texture is chewy and yummy, and everybody loves them.
Oh, well, I know I want to make them now. They look so good, and I love how simple they are, you know, and on the healthier side of cookies. So thank you so much for sharing them with us.
You're welcome.
No, this has been amazing. Thank you. We recommend you follow Kim on her social media and check out her website. All of the links to all of the different Instagram and Facebook and her cookbook are all in the chat now. We also want to thank Bailey for sharing her inspiring story with us today. Please take a moment to fill out the brief evaluation survey that's in the chat. Like I mentioned, 3 lucky winners will receive a copy of Kim's cookbook, The Modern Table. So that's filling out the survey will put you into that giveaway. I'm a little tongue-tied, sorry about that. Evaluations really do inform our future programming. So thank you so much for just taking a minute to fill it out. Bailey's Instagram is also in the chat. Please never forget that our social workers and genetic counselor are here for you and your loved ones. Sharsheret provides emotional support, mental health counseling, and other programs designed to help you navigate through the cancer experience. All are free, completely private, one-on-one. Our phone number is 866-474-2774. And you can also email us at clinicalstaff@sharsheret.org. Finally, I want to share with you our next webinar. Before I do that, I want to thank our sponsors, Cedars-Sinai and the Cooperative Agreement BP 191906 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and of course, our summit sponsors and our summit partners. The 2023 summit goes through Monday, and our final summit webinar is Artificial Intelligence and Breast Cancer, What Does the Future Hold? And that's happening on Monday, October 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. The link to learn more and register is in the chat box now. Please check out our website regularly to see what other topics are coming up. The link is in the chat. And you can also access the recordings and transcripts of all past webinars on our website. And thank you so much from all of us here at Sharsheret. We really appreciate you joining tonight's webinar, and we will see you next time.